Really big show today, Julia.
Very big show.
Our second annual Person of the Year.
Yes.
And we're having the final pitches, the voting, and the announcement of the winner here.
All today.
All today. Thanks to our Super FOSI who are standing by. We are live from Studio B here at the Beach Street Yacht Club. There's Gordon Smith is one of our Super FOSI. He's in Denmark and will be pitching, in fact, today. We appreciate everybody who's come on to help us. Welcome to our show number 904. I'm your host, Tom Eamon, co-host Julia Vedekint. You all know the Tom and Julia show every Tuesday and Friday at 1300 Pacific. This time of year, 2100 UTC, as our 12-meter video runs down to the starting line. Julia.
Yes.
Happy Tuesday and happy Thomas
Edison.
No. Thomas Who Day. The Brits should all know that. I got the Brits mic down so they don't spill the beans. Happy Tuesday and happy Thomas something day. Tribute. We're going to do a tribute to the late, great Jeffrey Mason, who passed away over the weekend. He of television production fame, a Hall of Famer here in the States, but also put our beloved sport on the air back in the late 80s from Fremantle in a spectacular fashion. SailGP has announced a new venue for the Spanish SailGP, a 3-year deal. So we'll be looking at that. Bravo Zulu to Thomas Koval. His Sodibo survived Storm Ingrid. We were telling you about last Friday, and they have set a new crewed round the world record in just under 40 days, 10 hours. The famous project, CIC, the all-women's team, also made it in one piece. They didn't set a record. Well, they did because it's the first all-women's. They didn't beat the old record, but nonetheless, bravo Zulu to them. We'll tell you about that. John Emmett has the shortest coaching corner I think he's ever done, Julia. He has got a 1-minute piece because he's one of our presenters today, one of our pitchers as well. He is live in Australia, and we want to welcome John for his coaching corner. And then we will do the Sailing Illustrated Person of the Year, the second annual. The pitches for the 5 finalists. Various FOSI have agreed to do that, thank goodness. And then we'll have a discussion with all of you, anybody that wants to pitch, anybody that wants to participate. And then finally, we will have live voting. Our electioneer, Clark Chapin in Plymouth, Michigan, will be conducting the voting today among the Super FOSI. And everyone asks, Julia, who are the Super FOSI? They are people who've been long-standing supporters of the show, not necessarily financial supporters, but yes, some of those as well, but have been on the show often, if not just about always. They're in the chat often, if not just about always, and they are contributing content on a regular basis for which we are deeply appreciative of the so-called Super FOSI. They will be voting for the final which we will announce towards the end of the show. Lastly, we have a nice video feature from the Royal Langkawi Regatta, which we try to cover every year this time of year in January. It wrapped up in spectacular fashion on Saturday in Malaysia. This day in history, Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, and of course our fantastic FOSI. That is our show today, Julia. But before we get going, I want to thank again Peter Shippo.
Yes.
Wasn't he fabulous?
He is wonderful. His smile shows through.
You guys, he's only a couple years older than I, and he has got a wealth of knowledge.
Absolutely.
And he sounds like he's 20 years younger. He's got a lot of energy and a lot of enthusiasm. Fabulous guy, great sailor, great commentator, and it was a delight to finally have him on the show. Peter Shipway. Shippo is, most of you in Oz know him, the renowned yachtsman and commentator. And we discussed at some length the state of our beloved sport.
Yes.
America's Cup, SailGP.
He's another one of those encyclopedia memory persons.
Encyclopedic. He has an encyclopedia.
Wonderful.
Knowledge. Fabulous person. Thanks, Peter, for doing that. By the way, speaking of Australia, we want to wish all of you down under, belated Happy Australia Day, which was on Monday. On Friday's show, we talked a little bit about Auckland Day, which was also on Monday, the big celebration and the big regatta. Well, they have a huge regatta, too. And a massive fireworks display in Sydney, not only at New Year's, as many of us have seen it, and many of you will be familiar. I saw it once, that is the Australia Day fireworks, when we were there for the 88 match between Dennis Conner and Ian Murray / Peter Gilmore in the 12s. It was a reprise of the 87 Cup final in Freo in Perth. And a couple of you sent slides. Belated happy Australia Day, everybody. But a couple of you sent slides from 1988. When I said on the show Friday, I was there umpiring this match, but in the 12s, and we were on a power boat. We got bumped into, Julia, so many times in the umpire boat.
I know.
We spent more time trying to steer clear of the other boats than we did probably umpiring the match. And of course, Dennis famously went aground. He was behind.
Oh, yeah.
And he was going to lose the series. And then, what was it? Guys would know, Shark Island or something. He went aground. And then the next day, in all the papers around the world, the America's Cup champion, winner, goes aground in Sydney Harbor. He got all the ink, and Ian and Peter Gilmore didn't get it. And Kookaburra, Alistair, did I say that right, Alistair? Kookaburra. They didn't get any ink at all. Dennis got it all. But look at this. Fabulous scene. That's 1988 Australia Day in Sydney Harbor, and we of course tried to conduct this match race event between the 12s, and it was fabulous. Thank you, Peter Stevenson, aka Pedro Foiling Sailors, for sending those slides along and reminding us of what a great weekend that was. Speaking of Australia and Fremantle and many, many other things, this is the late, great Jeffrey Mason, who passed away over the weekend, one of sports television's most accomplished and honored production executives, not just here in this country, but worldwide. Died on Sunday in Naples, Florida. He was 85. Mason had a long history with ABC Sports, ESPN as an employee, and more recently as a consultant for ESPN. Widely credited with helping shape how sports are covered on television. He earned 24 Emmy Awards and was inducted into the Sports Broadcasting Hall of Fame in 2010. Mason worked on 8 Olympics, most notably the 72 Games in Munich, when he was the coordinating producer. I've sat and heard him talk about this at length over coffee years ago. He was the coordinating producer for ABC's coverage of the hostage crisis, remember, in 72, a role that was prominently depicted in the 2024 film called September 5. He was born and raised in and around Marblehead, Massachusetts. Those of you who know that fabulous, beautiful sailing area just north of Boston, Marblehead, Mass., and that was his hometown, where he learned to sail, where he became an avid sailor, went into the Navy, but before that, he was in the America's Cup on an entry from Boston, Nefertiti, US 19, which was designed by Ted Hood, Ted, of course, from Marblehead originally. And it was designed for the 62 America's Cup Defender trials and built in record time. Get this. Neffy, as she was affectionately known, was launched just 96 days after building plans were delivered to the yard. 3 months and 3 days or so. US 19 was an innovative design featuring the widest beam of any 12 built to that date. She was very fast and strong wind, but unfortunately, the 62 Defender selection finals were raced in light air, and Ted Hood's AC hopes were dashed by Philip Rhodes's light air-loving Weatherly.
Oh, Weatherly.
Bas Mossbacher, remember, at the helm of US 17. They tried, this is Jeff, this was his idea, or so one hears. They tried putting football-style jerseys, American gridiron or, sports jerseys with numbers on them to help identify the crew and also make them look more like a sporting team, Julia.
Oh, yes.
And there's Jeff, number 14 in the back, along with some other famously good sailors from that era, including number 8 in the foreground, back of his head. That is Pete DuPont, the former presidential candidate here in the U.S., for whom I worked.
Did you?
I worked for his campaign for about 3 months as a fundraiser. Yes.
Good for you.
I got to know him. Yeah, I went to one of his speeches in La Jolla, California. and talked to him afterwards. He said, well, I'm looking for somebody just like you who can raise money. Because I've been raising money for the America's Cup, of course. But bravo Zulu to Jeffrey, and that whole era was such a fabulous time. I've used the word fabulous about 5 times, Julia. A special time in the America's Cup. Among his many assignments for ESPN, Jeffrey was executive producer for the breakthrough coverage of the 86-87 America's Cup from Frio, which won numerous awards, and he was head of production planning for the 2010 FIFA Men's World Cup soccer tournament in South Africa, which was special, and the critically acclaimed 2011 FIFA Women's World Cup in Germany. Here's a short video about the America's Cup leadership from Jeff Mason.
Where the American defender Intrepid has been racing this week against the Australian challenger Dame Paddy.
The America's Cup and Jeffrey Mason, they should always be put in the same sentence. For a guy that was so absolutely committed and continues to be to sports television, to have the opportunity to do an event to which he is so committed, the America's Cup and sailing in general, it really was a marriage made in heaven. And with that, we saw just a remarkable drive and determination to do the event, not just well, but to do the event like it had never been done before.
In the waters of New England, he first learned how to compete and then discovered the value of teamwork. In the Navy, as a Lieutenant JG, he learned how to lead.
Okay, well, that goes on. It's a great video from the sports video group when Jeff was inducted into the Broadcasting Hall of Fame, Julia, in this country. Jeffrey Mason, born in 1940, passed away in, this weekend, 2026. He was 85. May he rest in peace. Speaking of Frio, we're going to go back there again because that continues to astonish a lot of people how good an event that was. We're singing its praises, not because we're particular fans of Sail GP, although we love what they're doing and the progress that Larry and Russell have made in the short span of 5 years. By the way, Jeff Mason...
longer than five.
Only 5. This is the 5th season.
Yeah.
Well, season 6 now. But
yeah.
Jeff Mason, remember... He came out here. I called him up and said, hey, we're going to do, when we were doing the Super 12s.
Yes.
And in the nascent days of that, he came out on his own nickel to be the television producer for the Super 12s.
Oh.
We had several meetings here, and I don't know, probably 2 months worth of meetings on the phones before the funding dried up or never really came to fruition. But he made and in many respects, put Frio on the map almost 40 years ago. When 86, 87, the America's Cup there in Fremantle. But this past weekend, of course, was Sail GP, and a lot of ink, still good ink, very, very good ink, flowing from that fabulous event. And I just want you to look at this video. Okay, it's a nice video from Emirates GBR, recapping, it's just a minute-long video, but look at not only the wind, because I assert that not only is a windy venue obviously important, but great for our sport. But look at the sunshine and the sparkle and the clarity of the air, of the atmosphere in WA, because I submit that's a big part of why our sport looks so good in Perth.
How was it, Parko?
Yeah, the doctor turned it on. We had good breeze. Right in range, it was great. Bit of sea state and a fair few snakes and ladders, but good opportunities for us.
It's absolutely incredible to race the F50s in those conditions today. The doctor was, pumping, and we had the little wing on. Absolutely epic racing. I was really proud of the whole team. Since we got to Perth, we've just been chipping away and building each day. It was disappointing reality yesterday, the results, even when we felt like we were just sailing a bit better, and some tweaks today, and especially that final and the start, it was perfect.
I mean, that was sensational. Like, sailing doesn't get too much better than that, and to share it with, the sailing world, feel very proud of that and very proud of the team's effort today. Everyone from, the shore, the office, the sailing group, we just kept moving forward every day. So it was one to remember.
So SailGP in Frio was a nice event. I suspect this next event that's coming to Spain is also going to be a nice event. We, somebody who lived in Valencia for nearly 10 years, I think this is going to be good news as well, because that Spanish city has signed a 3-year event deal to host the Spain SailGP in Valencia, with the first iteration set for September 5th, 6th of this year, 2026, a 3-year deal. You remember this building, Velas Events, which is in Valenciano, meaning
Sailing event.
Velas Events. It means wind and sea. Sails and wind.
Yeah.
Velas, V-E-L-E-S is sails, not velas in Spanish, and then vents means wind in Valenciano, not Spanish. So that's the name of that building, which looks like a pancake. But it was the event headquarters built specially for, ultimately major events such as now SailGP, and it's right there in the harbor. And it's that's Cabanyal, the beach where the racing took place for the America's Cup and will take place for SailGP in September. So bravo Zulu to the locals and to Russell and everybody involved. I think it's going to be a nice event in VLC. Now, forgive me, I couldn't help this, Julia.
Yes.
I've met this kid. His name is Lerner Tien. He's from Irvine, California, which is down in Orange County. I met him one night a couple years ago, I think, a year or two ago, at Balboa Yacht Club. He's not a sailor as far as I know, but he was there with a bunch of his friends. I'm not even sure why, but somehow we were there and introduced because he is a superb tennis player, apropos what's going on at the Australian Open. And he wanted to know if I knew Larry Ellison. Somebody said he used to work for Larry Ellison. He came right over, very nice kid, very bright. He's 20 years old. Talked to him for maybe all of a minute in the bar at Balboa Yacht Club. But he is now down at the Australian Open, having just advanced to the quarters, having won last night, and is the youngest guy for years from the States or otherwise to get to the quarterfinals of the AO. Have a look.
Lerner, congratulations. You're through the quarterfinals. You are the youngest player to reach the quarterfinals since 2015 and the youngest American to reach the quarterfinal of a Grand Slam since 2002. What does that mean to you?
Do you see the L, Julia? The L's?
Yeah, I mean,
Lerner.
Feels amazing. I mean, so special to do it, especially here where, it's always so special for me to come back and play every year. And this is a big goal for me this year. And, I'm just super happy.
He's got a great smile.
As I said, I talked to him for maybe a minute, I don't know, maybe a minute and a half, but at the bar, and I thought, who's this twerp? He's a young guy. But you see, the crowd have adopted him, and his name is Lerner because his mother was a math teacher, and they named him after the mother. The sister's name, the daughter's name, his sister's name is Justice because the father is a lawyer. They're Chinese, emigrated. They were living in Vietnam, emigrated from Vietnam. He's ABV. He's American-born Vietnamese. But I want to go, forget about him. And, I mean, he's special, obviously.
Yeah.
But this tournament, to which I've had the pleasure of attending once or twice, I guess, this tournament, again, Australia is such a great sporting nation, and Melbourne, with the Formula One, with this tournament and other, all the sailing that goes on there, is some kind of a special sporting city, isn't it, Alistair Murray?
It sure is, Tom. G'day to you, Tom, Julia, and all the FOSI. It never ceases to amaze us, the Australian Open. It just gets bigger every year when we think it's got as big as it can possibly get, and it really does capture it captures the attention and the passion of all Melburnians, and in fact all people around Australia. It's been another fascinating tournament this time. I sat up last night and watched our hometown hero, Alex Dimonor, just get wiped off the court by Alcaraz. Having lived in San Francisco, Tom, I struggle to not call him Alcatraz, but it is Alcaraz. And Dimonor put up an amazing fight. He played extremely well, but was not a match at all for Alcaraz. The tournament itself, I don't know the actual numbers, but over the duration of it, I mean, we talk about the AFL Grand Final, our football Grand Final, having 100,000 people in the stadium, and we think that's the biggest event going. But the tennis brings 70, 80,000 people every day for two weeks, and they end up getting like 1 million people through the turnstiles, and it's incredible. This year, as does happen every probably 10 years, we get an extreme weather situation, and we're certainly having that at the moment. Yesterday in Victoria, which is our home state, we broke the all-time record high temperature in 3 towns across Victoria, 48.9 degrees. And in Melbourne, it was 43 or 44 degrees yesterday. So it does affect the schedule a little, puts them a little bit behind. But they close the ceiling and play the big matches in centre court. And luckily, we're towards the end of the tournament now, where we can close the roof and play all the big matches. But it's all to play for now. Really wrapped for that young American guy, Lerner. Love the L plates to recognise his name. I think it's all fantastic.
Hey Siri, let me ask Alistair. Hey Siri, what is 49 degrees Celsius in Fahrenheit?
49 degrees Celsius is 120.2 degrees Fahrenheit.
120. 120. Julia, you were going to say something?
Just the chat's not on my screen.
It's not? Okay. Yeah.
Tom, I don't know if you know Chuck Hawley, but
sure.
Chuck's coming for a holiday with me, a vacation next week, and he's terrified just looking at the temperatures that we're running here. And while I have the floor, just quickly, Tom, a question for Chris Fury, who I know is watching today. Ask him if he can identify the scene behind me. I want to know the name of the town, or any of the Australians.
Is that not Melbourne?
Yes, it is, but it's a bit more specific than that. It's actually where I learned to sail. It's a town name I'm looking for.
Okay, well, let's see if anybody in the chat. Fantastic to see a positive immigration story from the U.S. ABN, no, American-born Vietnamese, and ABN is American-born Norwegian. Yes, Gordon Smith. That kid is hot, Jonathan Frank is saying. Williamstown, Chris Fury, a.k.a. Willie. Is that right?
Bingo. That's Willie. Willie is my hometown.
Yeah. Where on the bay? It's in Melbourne. On what is that? Albert.
Western suburb. It's 20 minutes out of the city, and it's west of Melbourne, and it's where I grew up and where I learned to sail. And it's a very soft spot in my heart for this particular town. And this is I'm actually at my home in Meetung, and what is behind me is wallpaper. It's a photograph that I purchased and had blown up into huge wallpaper to do one end of my room here.
Okay, so it's still on Port Phillip Bay. It's around the corner to the west, the opposite direction of Sandringham.
Yeah, the Royal Yacht Club of Victoria is there. They've held 49er world titles and other major events over the years. A couple of 12 metres were based out of there during '83. One of the Kookaburras is there now, Tom.
Kookaburra.
Kookaburra. Have you got it? You finally got it?
I got to get you centered. You got to get you centered in the shot. Look at there you go.
There you go.
Less heads. You got it. There's a difference with you, Alistair. There's hair space and head space. That's two different.
I'm doing about my hair.
It's two different things. Kookaburra. Did I do that?
No, Tom. It's not Kookaburra. Not Kookaburra.
Cook.
Yes.
Kookaburra.
Kookaburra.
Kookaburra or Barra? Burra.
Burra.
Okay.
Burra.
Kookaburra, Julia.
Kookaburra.
Say it, Julia.
Kookaburra.
Okay. We're trying to get it, Alistair. We need lots of help.
Julia, just one oregano or oregano.
Oregano.
Pronunciation Illustrated. Thank you, Alistair. And as I said, TN's, that's his first name. His last name, rather. His first name is Lerner, as I said a minute ago, and it's inspired by his mother's former profession. She was a math teacher. And the sister is Justice after the father's. Okay, cool stuff.
Yeah.
Julia, what are we celebrating today?
Heaven only knows.
Well, what do you see there?
Toilets.
Today in the UK is Thomas Crapper.
Oh, yes.
We've celebrated that before on here, haven't we?
Yes, we have.
Thomas Crapper Day. And people think that he invented the toilet, and hence maybe that's where the name came from. But no, revolutionizing plumbing, an innovator's legacy transformed the way we handle necessities, leaving an enduring mark on sanitation, Julia.
Yes.
I should make you read this. Thomas Crapper Day is dedicated to the legendary plumber whose name is now synonymous with what's arguably one of the most essential inventions in human history, the toilet. You might also affectionately call it the loo, the porcelain throne, the potty, the john, or the can, whatever you call it. Thomas Crapper Day honors the legacy of the English businessman and plumber who brought the modern flush toilet into our home. He didn't invent it. And you remember we've talked about them having the first public paid toilet at the Great Exhibition in London, 1851, connected with, indirectly with the America's Cup. There's the gentleman.
What is today? Thomas Crapper Day is celebrated every year on January 27th, the death anniversary of the famous English businessman. While Thomas Crapper was not the inventor of the toilet, which is a common misconception, he did perfect and promote it. While the original flush toilet was functional, Crapper added a dash of elegance to the design. His designs even save water by adding the ball cock that stops water flowing into the toilet when the tank is full. It has often been claimed in popular culture that the profane slang term for human bodily waste crap originated with Thomas Crapper because of his association with lavatories. Its most likely origin is a combination of two older words, the Dutch krappen, to pluck off, cut off, or separate, and the Old French crap, sifting waste or rejected matter from the medieval Latin crop off. Thomas Crapper Day is the day of celebration for this man and all he did to bring a revolutionary change in the toilet world and made going to the potty so much easier.
I couldn't help myself, Julia. I'm sorry. Does anyone on anyone care to comment of our Super FOSI that are in the chat today? I want to welcome all of you on Thomas Crapper Day.
No.
Even none of you Brits? Nobody wants to take a risk? Gordon, I knew you would. Gordon Smith in Denmark, a Brit living in Denmark.
I just posted in the Facebook chat that my grandparents in the downstairs kitchen quarters areas of their house had an original Thomas Crapper toilet with a mahogany seat.
Wow.
Which was the child's favorite because it was the warmest regardless of the temperature in the house. Unfortunately, they also had a supply of Izal loo paper, which was not a favorite.
I'm not kidding, and I'm sorry to say this, but in researching this hot topic,
yes.
I was looking through various videos. As you know, Julia, I try to find a video.
Yes.
And I did find one.
Oh, good.
That one.
Yes.
That one. And apparently, in proper posh households, Gordon, and there's others of you who are Brits, John Emmett, apparently they would pay somebody or a servant would go warm the seat before central heating by sitting. Is that true, Gordon?
I'm not sure, but I know there's a number of wooden seats. In fact, there was a private estate near my hometown of Derby, and we used to go and repair and wind the clocks, and the master of the estate actually had a wooden bath and a wooden toilet because he didn't like the cold porcelain.
Okay. Well, there you heard it here. You heard it here. What is that? I got some commercial here on Thomas Crapper Day. That's what we're celebrating on January 27th. We better get serious here, Julie, because we've got important stuff to do. Our final discussion, a live vote for Sailing Illustrated's second annual Person of the Year among those 5 distinguished yachtsmen and women. But first, let's get to some breaking and otherwise news. Bravo Zulu, well done in praise of superb performance. We talked about this for Friday's show, and we want to confirm that, in fact, Thomas Koval did get his try as all-team 3. Sodibo, they got through the storm. They got across the finish line between England and France and set a new round-the-world crewed record. And I'm going to play some of this video, not all of it, courtesy of Sail World and Yachts and Yachting, describing the momentous a feat, really, an occasion.
The Jules Verne Trophy record, which has been held for just a day under 9 years by Francis Joyon and the team on Idexport, has been smashed this Sunday morning by Sodebo Ultime 3 and the team led by Thomas Koval. They finished in 40 days, 10 hours, 45 minutes and 50 seconds. We take a look at the arrival with the French Navy up in the air on their aeroplane to take a look at as they came in, the theoretical route, the route they took and the ups and downs compared to the ghost boat on Idexport, and then also from yesterday the final drone footage that their amazing pilot Leo took out in the Bay of Biscay.
Sodebo, du Falcon 50 de la Marine Nationale sur le Chanel 16, comment me recevez-vous?
Oui, je vous reçois fort et clair. C'est sympa de passer nous dire coucou.
Sodebo's crossing from Finisterre across the Bay of Biscay towards the Ushant finish line wasn't as bad as initially feared. The deepest parts of the depression split with a lighter wind patch in the middle. It was still 40 knots and the massive seas that they had to contend with, but overall they'll be very happy with how the weather picture opened up for them. The tension at Mission Control was palpable, with friends and relatives and well-wishers all wanting to see them cross the finish line in this record time. On board, there was a sense of calm which has pervaded throughout their circumnavigation, and not much of a celebration on board. I think that you'll find that the entire team, especially after those last 24-48 hours, will be exhausted, and so they're wanting to make sure they don't make any mistakes in those closing stages and bringing the boat back safely ashore.
On peut avoir toutes les informations.
The Jules Verne Trophy start line is an imaginary line between the Creach Lighthouse on Wisson Island, France, and Lizard Point in Cornwall, UK, then heading down the Atlantic to the east of the Azores High and the west of the St Helena High. After that, it's time for a circuit of Antarctica, passing the Great Capes. The Cape of Good Hope at the southern tip of Africa, onto the Indian Ocean and Cape Lewin at the southwestern tip of Australia, and then past New Zealand and into the Pacific towards Cape Horn. It's then a sprint up the South Atlantic, across the equator and into the North Atlantic back to the finish line. The course here shows a passage to the west of the Azores High, but this route can often be more direct depending on the weather systems in the Atlantic at that time. Looking at the full circumnavigation, we can see how Sodebo Ultime 3 had a really fast start down the North Atlantic, going past the Canary Islands, then Cape Verde Islands, continuing to open up a lead over Idexport, getting up to 500 nautical miles as they crossed the equator, a very quick crossing of the doldrums and into the South Atlantic, where they then had to hug the South American coastline. And you can see their Idexport, that's the red boat in this picture, the ghost boat that they're always taking a look as to how much their advantage is, had quite a slow entry to the South Atlantic, but then managed to cut the corner of the St Helena High. You can see how the yellow boat, and that's Sodebo Ultime 3, had to take a far more rounded route, far further down that South American coast, which allowed IDEC to come back a little bit. At the time, the lead was 1,300 nautical miles. They then rounded the Cape of Good Hope, and went into the Indian Ocean. This was the time where Idexport had a quite incredible run. A single jibe through the entire Indian Ocean meant they could see on Today Bowl Team 3 their lead just continually being eroded as they had to jibe past the Kerguelens onto Cape Lewin. And you can see that 1,300, 1,400 nautical mile lead got eroded to nothing as they went down the south side of Australia past Tasmania. And at that point, they actually lost the lead briefly as they went past between Tasmania and New Zealand. And you can see there that little bit of a northern route that Idexport had to take, which meant that they took a longer route, what with the closer you are to the Antarctic, the faster you go, past Point Nemo, and you can see there Sodebo beginning to rebuild their lead, 300 nautical miles as they approach Cape Horn, but then they hit the light winds, really light winds on the rounding up to Cape Horn. And once again, you can see Idexport just closing that gap. And so they went round Cape Horn, pretty slow, but just a 200, 100 nautical mile lead at that point. Past the Falkland Islands, a really complex picture in the South Atlantic. And they had to take, again, quite a circuitous route to try and stay in the breeze and navigate these complex weather pictures. To be fair, it was just the same for Idexport back in 2016-17, and it's always a bit torturous in this area to get the weather systems correct. Very difficult indeed, and it really is a case of just weaving between the winds. Then they caught into more pressure as the last parts of the South Atlantic towards the equator, and at this point the lead is about 200 nautical miles. A quick crossing of the equator, stuck for a little bit, where the lead again goes down to about 200 miles, and then into the North Atlantic, starting to use the trade winds. And then the next big barrier, the Azores High, relatively far south because of the storms coming through. They got across this, and you can see again the lead went up to 700 nautical miles, and once again just reduced. They just couldn't get rid of that ghost boat until they came to Storm Ingrid, and this was by far the strongest winds they were going to face. A small gap opened up between the two different sets of pressure, which they managed to navigate their way through.
Okay, I was not paying attention here, and that's it. They got through the storm, and and they set the new record. I mean, bravo Zulu to them. Impressive feat. And here we always like to name the crew. Thomas Coville, 57 from France, of course, was the skipper and the leader of the pack. Frederic Dennis, 41. Pierre Leboucher, how do you say that in French? Leboucher, 45 years old. Leonard Legrand, 31. Guillaume Pirouel, 31. Benjamin Schwartz, 38. Nicholas Troussel, 51 years old. Bravo Zulu to them all. And while we're at it, Alexia Barriers, the famous Project CIC. This was the all-women's team we talked about briefly with Peter Shipway last week on Friday. And they were at the same time going around on another all-team, on another big trimaran, and trying to either beat that record or at least finish. And they had some real challenges, but they did finish their first nonstop lap of the planet on board a trimaran. They completed it, and so they have set now a record for an all-female crew. And there they are, bravo Zulu to them. When they crossed the finish line on Sunday, their primary aim, or it was a Sunday or Monday, their primary aim was to make history in women's sport and sailing. They aspired to become the first all-female crew to complete this nonstop circumnavigation. Today, they have achieved their goal after 57 days. They started earlier, 21 hours, 20 minutes of adventure. Their journey was punctuated by countless racing challenges and unpredictable adversities on the vast ocean. So bravo Zulu to them. And some of you, many of you perhaps, will remember British sailor Tracy Edwards and her 10-member female crew, the first to attempt this feat, were forced to abandon their dreams off the coast of New Zealand 27 years ago. This is not an easy feat, let alone to set a record. But they did get around. Alexia and her crew, they triumphed over all obstacles They faced damage in winter storms that tested their resilience and determination right up to the last mile. Bravo Zulu to them. This is yesterday when they arrived in Brest.
They do look triumphant, I must say.
Oh, I would, wouldn't you?
Oh, gosh, yes.
I'd just be happy to be back on terra firma. Arrival of Alexia Barrier I guess, and her crew of the famous, what a name, the famous project CIC, including Dee Kafari, Annamika Best, Deborah Blair, Molly LaPointe, Tamara Etchegoyen, Stacy Jackson, Rebecca Hornell, and they were all aboard the Maxi Trimaran IDEX Sport after the Jules Verne Trophy, a nonstop crude round the world race in Brest yesterday, January 26th. Bravo Zulu to them. With that, Julia, let's get to John Emmett and his regular Coaching Corner report. As I said at the top of the show, I think it's the shortest, briefest report he's ever submitted because he is standing by in Australia, normally in the UK, but he's in Australia for his perpetual summer program down under, and he will be joining us pitching one of these five, in fact, Jazz Turner. But here is his Coaching Corner report for today.
Hi, Tom, Julia, and all the FOSI. Welcome to a very brief John Emmett's Coaching Corner, because this time I definitely have to be on the live show, and it's a really important one. It's the Sailing Illustrated Person of the Year. It's a difficult decision. It always is, because we're comparing apples with oranges, and sailing is a really broad church. But the recognition for exceptional individuals is so important, and everybody who's got nominated would be a worthy winner. So please join us for the rest of the show. And today, especially, comments, even in replay, but especially live, comments are really, really welcome. And let's recognise the personalities from 2025. And already there's some good stories from 2026. So without further ado, on with the show.
Thanks, John Emmett. That's his regular Coaching Corner report. We always put in a little addendum, a little coda in the musical world about Brisbane 2032, because John has been helping lead the way for that since over a month now, since our show number 805, when he did the big push for Paralympic sailing. And we're going to continue to hope and follow the lead of the Aussies who are trying to get sailing into the Paralympics in Brisbane 2032, either as a demonstration event or as a regular event in the regular discipline in that. And maybe for the foreseeable future, we were, as you always remind us, in the Paralympics before.
Yes.
We got eased, and hopefully now we're going to get back in because of the good efforts of World Sailing and John Emmett and the Aussies and many others. John Emmett's Coaching Corner report. John Emmett, get to the front of the fleet. Appreciate his submissions as always, Julia.
Yes.
Which brings us to the big moment. We have 5 finalists. We've been through this month discussing paring the list down from a bunch down to 5. And today we'll have the final discussion and pitches from some of our Super FOSI who are standing patiently by on the Zoom. And we are going to pitch you all because we appreciate your comments. We're looking forward to your comments and discussion about these individuals. Paul Kayard on the short list, Charlie Delan, Dylan Fletcher, Jazz Turner, and Ian Williams. Those were the 5 finalists nominated broadly by FOSI and others, just regular viewers here of the show. And those are the 5 finalists: Paul, Charlie, Dylan, Jazz, and Ian. And we've been discussing them now for a few weeks. And today We get to the final pitches, the final discussion, and then Clark Chapin, our electioneer, is standing by to conduct an election of the Super FOSI. And again, the Super FOSI are about 20 people who are regular contributors to this show, content financially, but content especially people who are on the show almost without fail, that is watching it and in the chat pretty much every show twice a week, year around. Joe Cool says, Paul Kayard, no debate. Clark Chapin is saying, standing by to open. Ballot 1 after the pitches. Perfect sentiment. John Emmett Sailing from Gordon Smith, who's one of our pitchers today. Steve Groover. John Emmett, are you in detention? Chris Exley and Joe Holtzman, welcome to all of you. It was, I don't know which video he said was so fantastic, but yeah, older equipment for the ladies, but the fact that they got around in one piece is just amazing.
Yes.
And see, Gordon Smith echoing that, Julia, that CIC was also a fantastic achievement. 57 days is just nuts. Good point.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, let's get going. And our first pitcher, unfortunately, has got work. You know, some of us have to work, right? Not unlike you and me, Julia. We don't have to work.
No.
We never work at our advanced age. We're retired, of course. But our first pitcher is actually not with us live today. He submitted a video this morning because he's got a work commitment that was an all-hands-on-deck major thing, and he is pitching for Paul Kayard. And that, of course, is Magnus the Magnificent, Magnus Wheatley, who submitted this video this morning.
Hello, Tom, Julia, and all the FOSI. I'm sorry I can't be with you this evening. I work calls, and yeah, I'm sure you're going to have a great fun doing this Person of the Year. The candidates this year are absolutely extraordinary. I look at Charlie Dallin, just remarkable round-the-world effort. Jazz Turner, incredible, getting round Great Britain and Northern and Ireland with her Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, just an incredible feat. Dylan Fletcher absolutely smashing it out of the park in Sail GP and really becoming a force for our time. And Ian Williams, the goat of match racing and one of the nicest guys in sailing. But I'm here to pitch for Paul Kayard because they say never meet your heroes, and I've been very lucky in 2025 to meet Paul, both in person and on Zoom calls, and interview him a number of times. Really on the back of what he did at the Star Worlds, and at the age of 66, some 37 years after he first won the Star Worlds, which is quite remarkable that he didn't win it more times in between. But at the age of 66, having set a goal in 2018 to become Star Class World Champion again, he has angled every ounce of his competitiveness and every resource that he's got to achieve his goal. And where I think it's absolutely remarkable is having started with a 10th and a 35th on the first day, he bounced back on day 2 and scored 2 bullets in some of the most incredible sailing I've ever seen. It was just sheer dominance, boat speed, the ability to hold the lane. He was absolutely sensational that day. And I asked him about kind of rig settings and things, and he said it just everything clicked that day. Sailing with Frida Kleen, who's a multiple world champion crew. This was a kind of a no excuse to lose tilt at the Worlds, and what a fantastic result. Gives everybody in sailing hope. But when I look back on Paul's career, and I'm really just going to concentrate, we all know about his round the world efforts and his America's Cup efforts, but when I look at it in the star class specifically, he started sailing at the age of 19 as a crew for William Gerard. In that year, he came 4th, and the top 3 of the podium were Buddy Melgers, Dennis Conner, and Tom Blackaller, a pretty stellar company. And then it's the eras that Paul has sailed through, the legends of sailing. You go through the Lowell Norths, Marlin Burnham, Ding Schoonmaker. You then go into the 80s with people like Mark Reynolds, Ed Adams, Alex Hagan. And then you look at the modern day, and you've got guys like Mateusz Kuzmierowicz, who I call the Picasso of sailing with Bruno Prada, who is the Nureyev of sailing. And you've got people like Diego Negri, Eric Doyle, Tonki Stepanovic, John Kostecki. These are seriously good, talented sailors, ex-world champions. And for Paul to come out on top at the age of 66, I think is just one of the most remarkable things. But equally so, off the water, he's the president of the International Star Class, and this star class is in very rude health. But it's driven by Paul's commitment to putting back into the sport. He's acutely aware that they need to bring young people in, and they've got some fantastic young sailors coming through. His son runs the Sea program, which gives people boats and gets people on the water. And speaking to Paul, it's all about putting back into the sport, a sport that's given him so much and something that he absolutely loves. And I look back through the history of the Star Class, and the only person that I can find that matches his age was back in 1928 with William Inslee, who sailed with Robert Nelson at the age of 59. Paul, as I said, angled for this from 2018, set a goal, swam every single day, leaned himself out, and then gave himself no excuse to lose. In the run-up to the World Championships, he was leading the Croatian national championships and then pulled out at the last day to save the boat, save the sails. Couldn't see any value in it was going to be windy, I think, so he decided to take it easy. Everything was concentrated on that World Championships, and I think it's one of the true great feats of sailing, not just in 2025, but of all time. It really is a remarkable result. And Paul, as an ambassador, deserves every recognition that should be coming his way. The next World Championships are in Miami in Florida. Paul, first of all, wants to get the Bacardi Cup monkey off his back. He's never won a Bacardi Cup, up against Mateus, who's won it 6 times. So, this season, again, he's doubled down on his efforts and is going again. So he's a remarkable individual, a super nice guy, and I think would be the perfect person to win Sailing Illustrated's Sailor of the Year. Thank you.
Magnus the Magnificent. Very nicely done. Julia, do you approve? I know
do.
that Paul has a warm spot in your heart.
Yes, absolutely. And he's done lots of things that, like when he was sailing the Black Pearl, and provided education in every stop along the way back.
You were a supporter of that effort, weren't you? You and your late husband. He was chairman of the board here at St. Francis.
Yes.
And chairman of the finance committee before that. And when Magnus says rude health, that's a British expression for good. Rude health.
Okay.
It doesn't mean that, you're being
rude.
That you're watching porn when you should be watching Sailing Illustrated.
All right.
Magnus.
Yes, well done.
Magnus Wheatley, thank you very much, and we appreciate that very much. Next one is Charlie Delan, and I am going to pitch him. I nominated him, and we asked people who had done nominations to do the pitching if they were so inclined, and I nominated him, A, because I thought, in retrospect, what he had done. Remember, it was early in the year, so sometimes you forget about what had happened a year ago when he won the Round the World race. But also, I didn't realize it, and I think a lot of other people didn't realize it. He was suffering from cancer when he did this.
I didn't realize at the time.
So let me tell you a little bit about what Charlie Delan accomplished. He's, of course, a French offshore sailor. He placed first in the 10th edition of the quadrennial Vendée Globe. It's the race around the world that took place in 2024, 2025. He completed the race within a time of 64 days. Now, we just saw this crude round the world nonstop record of under 40 days. This is single-handed, and he did it in 64.
Yep.
64 days, 19 hours and change, smashing the previous record by fully 9 days, 8 hours and change. He completed this race while battling gastrointestinal cancer, taking immunotherapy pills during the race. The edition before that, he also finished second in the Vendée Globe. It took place in 2020 to 2021 with a time of 80 days. So you can see how much time he lopped off, going from 80 down to 64 days. despite having this gastrointestinal cancer. So the guy is very bright. He has a naval architecture degree from the University of Southampton. He was also IMOCA world champion in 21 and in 22. In 2023, he launched his new sailing yacht, Massive, an IMOCA 60 monohull. In 2025, he received a World Sailor of the Year, the Rolex Award, with fellow Vendée Globe competitor Justine Metreau winning the female category. So he was also World Sailor of the Year male for World Sailing and Rolex. So I commend him to you. I think he is superb in every respect. And as John Emmett said in his opening video in the Coaching Corner, we have such a broad sport, and it's nice to celebrate the wide breadth, including
and depth.
And depth. Thank you, Julia. You're absolutely right, Charlie Delan. Okay, so who's next? The next up is Dylan Fletcher, and he, of course, has come through the America's Cup, come through Sail GP. He's going to be back in as a skipper in the America's Cup for the Brits, and the pitch for him today is coming from our esteemed Australian correspondent and Super FOSI, who's been on this show probably a dozen or more times, Jody Shields. Jody, where are you?
Oh, here he is with his calling.
He's got his guy. I had you muted, Jody. Go ahead.
I'm having breakfast. It's been like 56 minutes and I haven't been able to have the rest of my breakfast. So how is everybody?
Tell us about Charlie, or about Dylan, rather. I just told you about Charlie.
Charlie, no, I'm not in here for Charlie. I'm in here for Dylan. And, you've got Jazz Turner from GBR and Ian Williams from GBR, Charlie Delan from France, and Paul Kayard from the USA. A fantastic group of all that's achieved pretty good things this year. But I was here for the Aussie and I couldn't find any. So I went, had to go for Dylan Fletcher, I guess. But out of all the nominees, Dylan had a different path to gain. I'm reading this, obviously. His position to achieve what he did this year. And what I mean by this is Dylan was given a shot at achieving what some may argue the greatest sailor of all time, so Ben Ainslie couldn't do. Ben Ainslie, funnily enough, replaced Dylan as skipper of the GBR sailing team, Sail GP team, after season one when Ben bought the team, and then stacked it with some incredible talent and tried for a number of years to win Sail GP. After he couldn't achieve this, Ben put Giles Scott on the helm with the same stack crew. Once again, Giles could not achieve the ultimate goal. Then Dylan got his shot. He got instant success with the first win in Sydney, in which they won, and that launched what could possibly be described as a dominant year when Dylan was up against none other than Tom Slingsby, Peter Burling, Giles Scott, Taylor Canfield, Eric Hall, Martina Grail, Seb Schneider, Nikolai Sehested, Quentin Delapierre, Ruggiero Tita, and the reigning Sail GP champions Diego Botín. There's Olympic champions, world champions, match racing champions, you name it in that group, yet Dylan stood at the top above all these great sailors. He had to earn his position in the team, and he well and truly took his opportunity with both hands. Not only did he win the overall Sail GP title, his team won the season point score, rewarding consistency. They also won the Impact League, a feat that no other Sail GP team has ever done. All this while Dylan was in the skipper's role. He also inspires countless numbers of youth sailors with his never-give-up attitude. Although Dylan looks like he should be an accountant, he's one very talented sailor. And after a season where, in his own words to me last night, his achievements this year were not missing any flights, staying married, not forgetting his wife's birthday or their wedding anniversary, and also winning a few Sail GP events, I'd say he's a very well deserved to be crowned the Sailing Illustrated Sailor of the Year.
Jody, fantastic.
Well done.
Well done. And that's Jody Shields, of course, in Wangi, north of Sydney, having his Wednesday morning breakfast.
Sponsored by Goslings, the best rum in the world.
Not Mount Gay?
Can't you read? Gosling.
Okay. Dylan Fletcher. Okay, next up in our pitching today is Jazz Turner. And she, of course, had a fabulous event of her own circumnavigating the British Isles. And the pitch for Jazz Turner today is coming from none other than our Super FOSI, John Emmett, who is standing by in Australia. John, over to you.
Hi, Tom and Julia, and all the FOSI. So, first of all, I was going to explain to you about toilet seats because actually a metal toilet seat and a wooden toilet seat, if you leave them in a room at steady temperature, are exactly the same temperature. And I was going to explain to you why they feel a different temperature, but then I thought that would be a bit unfair because I meant to be here talking about Jazz. But maybe if Jazz wins, I'll tell you the secret. But I'm not going to cheat, Jodie. I'm going to do this completely off the cuff and just speak to my heart about Jazz, because I think there's a lot more to the Sailing Illustrated Person of the Year than just racing results, which is, of course, a very important part of our sport. I mean, a standout moment for me, for example, was Dylan winning the Tokyo Olympic Games on the line on the final jibe from Pete Burling, when that's 8 years worth of effort for one moment. But I think Person of the Year is about so much more than racing results, and it's about the sport as a whole and the impact that person has on the sport of the whole. And for me, there's three things in inclusive sailing, and Jazz absolutely ticks the box, because it's not just about the individual but what they bring to the sport. So Jazz is obviously a para sailor, and it's something which is very close to my heart in the tiniest way. You know, I've suffered with little bits and pieces of injury, and I just cannot imagine what it's like for some of these parasailors just to be doing what they're doing. My father died of motor neurone disease during 2012, and I saw, you know, what it is like with this degenerative disease that Jazz has. And I think that's such an important thing in the broader topic of parasailing. She's obviously female, and females are very underrepresented at the top of our sport. It seems female representation seems to be improving in managing and leadership positions, but in terms of elite sailing and coaching, it's still lagging behind. So we have to lift up these personalities to inspire the little girls to keep going. If I look at the Ilka 4 at the Nationals we had in Tasmania, I think there were more female sailors in Ilka 4 than male sailors. But as soon as you get to the elite level, that's not true. And this role model thing is just so important. And last but not least, for an old man like me, she's young, and the young people of the sport, they are the future. And the really sad fact is that due to her progressive illness, Jazz won't make it to be an old person. And I think that's what makes it this year so special. You look at the racing results. I mean, one of the huge sadnesses for Jazz was she was so keen to go to the Worlds in Oman. And I think, you know, she had a really good chance of getting a gold medal there, having so many times been the bridesmaid and medalled, but not got that gold medal. In fact, she got me quite drunk in Ireland and was trying to insist that I come over to coach her, and that just got snatched away from her. And it's incredibly hard to think when you have such a clear goal. And then obviously she couldn't go to Oman. But the individual achievement she had, and that's what Person of the Year is all about. It's about the achievement of the person and what they're capable of. And just to get around and complete the voyage with her. Because people don't realise, you know, it was this close to failing when she ran aground. And she literally had to crawl with anchors on her back to try and refloat the boat and to keep the criteria of being truly solo. But for me, this is so much more than a race result. And we've got, you know, remarkable achievements with Paul Kayard still being super competitive at advanced years. And we have, you know, the GOAT of match racing who's done the consistency. But this is about the year. And in my mind, this is clearly the year of Jazz Turner and para sport.
John Emmett, thank you very much indeed. That was a terrific pitch. In fact, Christopher Gillingham in the chat is saying the same. Great pitch, John.
Yes.
All these pitches have been, I shouldn't say pleasantly surprised, Julia, but I am pleasantly surprised. Everybody has just hit the ball out of the park, as we say in
And they're all
American.
wonderful.
And I'm sure Gordon will as well. We have one left to go, so let's go to Ian Williams, whose pitch will be given by the Brit living in Denmark and our Super FOSI, Gordon Smith. Gordon, welcome to the show again, and thank you for your time and effort in this endeavor.
You're welcome. And I thought the discussion looking at the long list and then discussing who should be on the short list was there was some amazing people who there was a Chinese guy who had completed he completed the round the world, dare I say, alone on the boat and literally single-handed. And I can't even tie my own shoelaces up single-handed. So how you manage that is beyond me. So when you start to whittle things down, and I think when I introduce Ian Williams, one of the things we did this year was we adapted the selection criteria a little bit to include competitive results, and I think we might have to debate that again. I think John's point about person of the year is extremely well made, because I think last year with Cole Brower, I think it demonstrated that people are able to spread the sport in a very positive, skillful, competent way to a much wider audience and bring a very positive story to themselves and to the world. And I think we might want to tweak that. But we have competitive results this year. However long list, any one of them, we could have picked any one of them and it wouldn't have been wrong. You couldn't have argued that they were wrong. But I have picked one. So it's a bit tricky. In this process, I'll be honest, I admire the candidates' achievements, but I instinctively lean away from those for who you might say sailing as performances, their professional lives or their day job. But there is an elephant in the room, or I would like to say there's a billy goat in Ian Williams. You see what I did there? William, Billy? Never mind. Okay. The sport of match racing is to sailing what dressage is to equestrianism or decathlon is to athletics. It's the discipline that brings everything together. It's all the essential elements of the sport. And if you're a champion match race, a champion dressage, champion decathlon, you are literally the first among equals. It is the pinnacle. There are lots of difficult challenges, but it's the one event which brings everything together, and you compete against the best again and again and again in order to have your world championship. And therefore, to become a world champion in match racing is remarkable, even if you do it only once. And the World Match Racing Tour, I'm going to make some quotes, and you'll note the dates are a little jumbled. Just bear with me, because I'm building through this quotations. The World Match Racing Tour website writes this. He rose, this is Ian Williams, rose to the top 10 of the International Sailing Federation match race ranking in 2003. Let's remember, 2003. He placed second on the World Match Racing Tour in 2004-5. So he's gone from the top 10 to second overall. He won his first World Match Racing Tour event in 2006. Okay, he's building a bit of a campaign. And I think that might have been the year that Andrew or Pindar started sponsoring him. I may be wrong. In 2007, so it's consecutive years here, he rose to number 1 on the rankings and went on to win both the 2007 and 2000 World Match Racing Tours. Now, here is something remarkable. Remember, he's only been racing for 4 years. He's won 2 world championships, and that makes him one of only 5 skippers to hold multiple world match racing titles and the first European to do it. So he's won 2, and now he's amongst the world's 5 best ever. Hold on to your socks here. And this is where we get a little bit time jumbled, but you bear with me. In 2015, before his 2015 victory, an article introduced Ian Williams thus: to win the World Match Racing Tour more than once is impressive enough, but Ian Williams has won it an unprecedented 5 times. Cool. We go back to the World Match Racing Tour website. He then went on to win the title again. I apologise about a bit jumbled, you'll follow me. In 2011, 2012, 2014, 2015, 2023, and 2024. Hang in there, people. In the summer of 2025, Shirley Robertson introduced him in another article. Williams has won the Tour an unprecedented 8 times and has a unique approach into how he takes on the world's best and keeps winning. It's now January 2026. So go back to 2007-8, and he's already amongst the 5 absolute best winners ever because he's got 2 victories. 2026, and Ian Williams has now won the World Championship an astonishing 9 times. It's astonishing. I appreciate Kayard's achievement, absolutely amazing. Think about it, people. This is the pinnacle, and he's done it 9 times. Now, I'm going to introduce most of you to a soccer football manager who actually, in real life, was my neighbour at home when I lived in Derbyshire. Genuinely, he was my neighbour. Best football manager ever was called Brian Clough. And he never lived in Yorkshire, of course. But he was once asked if he was the best manager in the sport. And he replied, I wouldn't say I was the best manager in the business, but I was in the top 1. Ian would not say that, but I do. He was in the top 1. I commend Ian Williams to you for the Sailing Illustrated Person of the Year. However, people, in this case, I suspect that coming second to Jazz would feel like a win. I commend Ian Williams to you.
Gordon Smith, pitching for Ian Williams. Terrific job. That makes it 5 in a row, Julia.
Yeah.
Very impressive. Thank you, Gordon. Very, very nicely done. And now the big moment is here. I've been texting with Clark Chapin, who's in Michigan. Last year, I think we had him on the Zoom, and he actually conducted the vote, but he's got his hands full with various apps open because the Super FOSI are now going to vote at Clark's direction or at his invitation. And before we do that, however, we want to open the floor, first of all, to those that are in the Zoom, the Super FOSI who are in the Zoom who haven't otherwise pitched. Dolly DeVola, Alistair Murray, Ed Worley, Rick Bannerow, they have not pitched, but they're there. They've listened to the pitches. They've been thinking carefully about this. There's been a lot of texting back and forth. Let's start with Dolly DeVola. Dolly, what's your take on what we've heard so far? You don't have to disclose for whom you're going to vote, but if you care to, that's fine too.
Yeah, g'day, Tom and Julia and all the FOSI. Hello from down under. I've firstly got to say that all these candidates are exceptional and deserving to be there. Thanks for everyone's pitches. You certainly made me think about which way I was going to vote, but as some of you do know, I'm also a sailor with a disability, and I know firsthand what the challenges are. I compete as an able-bodied athlete, but I choose to do so. And for me, the last 4 years, that's been extremely challenging and difficult. And I've got to say it's an emotional vote for me in particular. But to see what Jazz did to single-handedly sail around Great Britain and you know, as John said, you know, ran aground, had to single-handedly save a vessel and continue on, and to know that now, you know, she may not be able to continue with her dreams or even perhaps sail again. For me, you know, like, I just think that great achievements in racing are fantastic, but also an achievement in the sport for what she's done. I know how difficult that is, so I'll disclose that I am voting for Jazz. I think she's a really worthy recipient. Thanks, Tom.
Dolly DeVola, thank you very much, sir. We appreciate that. And just so you all know, the voting is underway, and people can change their votes or they can vote. But the way Clark is doing this, it's on a private chat, on a WhatsApp chat. Everybody gets one vote, and then if there is a tie, in fact, I think what he's doing is one vote and then dropping off the person with the least number of votes, Julia, after that, and then conducting another one, unless somebody has more than 50% on the first ballot. And I'm just looking right now, and it's going to be close. There's a lot of people getting votes. So let's carry on here, because that was an interesting take, I think, from Dolly DeVola down in Sydney. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Let's go next to Alistair, who's also down under. He's in Melbourne, has been no doubt copying the mail, as we say here in the States, thinking about this carefully. Mr. President Emeritus of Australian Sailing, what do you think?
Thanks very much, Tom, and I must say that was beautifully put, Dolly, and very well expressed. I'm just going to ask Clark to take my vote verbally from me, because my WhatsApp is on the phone, which I'm actually speaking to you on, so it's tough for me to scroll between devices. So I'll ask you, Clark, if that's okay to physically record my vote for me. So this was, I have put a lot of thought into it. It seems terribly unfair to have to come, as it is with all difficult competitions, to come up with a winner, because as the other pitchers have said, and supporters, that it's an incredibly eminent list of finalists, and every one of them would be a worthy winner, in my opinion. It's also like comparing apples with oranges when you're comparing one design racing with racing single-handed as a parasailer around the UK. I mean, it's very hard to compare, but we're making a judgment in our own opinion about what has meant the most to us, the person we think has contributed the most, the most outstanding performance. And so I've just got a few comments before I'll give you my vote for number one. So firstly, I guess working backwards, Dylan Fletcher, Jody did that well. An absolutely fantastic performance against. He made a very good case there for him sailing against the best sailors in the world. There's no doubt about the fact that he beat a field that you can only dream about beating one of them, and yet he's beaten all of them continually. And to step up to sail GP at that level and perform so outstandingly is just remarkable. And the same can be said about Ian Williams. To dominate world match racing the way he has is quite extraordinary and obviously unprecedented, and Gordon put a very good argument for them. But I'm going to move on to, I think, the more human stories, if you like, which brings me to my third vote would be Jazz Turner. If I was voting with my heart, she would clearly be the winner. But I'm a judge voting with my head, and so I take as many things into account as I possibly can. Hers is a great story about tenacity against, against extreme challenges. She has represented para in an amazingly magnificent way. If we're talking about the person of the year, she's a hell of a person to do what she did, and it's such a sad story to think that she's not going to be with us for a long time. And in particular, that story about her dragging her anchors across jagged rocks to kedge herself off the rocks when she ran around is just like, it just moves you so much. So she is absolutely outstanding, but I'm a judge voting with my head. Going with the heart again, Charlie Delan, and I didn't finalise my voting until today, but Charlie Delan to have broken that around the world record by 9 days on your own with cancer. You think about the nature of the physical effort, how hard it would be to sail around the world, how much you have to dig into yourself and your reserves, and to do so, there'd be nothing more extreme physically in the world, and he's battling cancer. I just think that's an amazing story. So he actually, after listening to Tom, actually moved up my list. But I'm going to save my vote, and I hope Clark can actually, as I said, can you record it for me, Clark? I'm going to save it for Paul Kayard as my number one. Magnus did a very good job of pitching for him, but that's not why. I think I'd already chosen, and I haven't changed my vote as a result of hearing today's arguments. But he races at the highest level. The star class is it's a pinnacle. One of the pinnacles. There's a number, I guess, of sailing, but certainly one of the high points for sailing. His longevity is remarkable. The fact that he can come back and win a world title 37 years later. Just think about that. That can't be true, but it is. And so, and along with his background with America's Cup and around the world races, and his profile as a sailor when in Italy when he was a real rock star. He's an absolute ambassador. To me, it's not just about the sailing. If it was just a sailor, it would be somebody else. But with Paul Kayard, for me, he's more than a sailor. And what tips him over the edge and puts him in my number one position is the fact that he carries on as a willing and enthusiastic ambassador for sailing and is president of the Star Class World Association. I know what it's like to be president of a class association. It's a full-time job in itself. And I think that in doing so, he's representing all star sailors. He's working his butt off on their behalf to make the Star a stronger class. So I just think the combination of all those things puts Paul Kayard in my number one spot. The top of his game, 37 years of longevity, beating the best sailors in the world and being president of the class, as well as an outstanding ambassador for sailing. Paul Kayard, number one. Thank you, Tom.
Alistair Murray, former president of Australian Sailing. Very well said. Thank you very much. Did you like that, Julia?
I did. I did.
But you just like Alistair, admit it.
Well, of course I do.
Thank you, Alistair. Let's go to Ed Worley now, who's either in NorCal or SoCal, someplace, but is a regular contributor to this show with content, and we appreciate very much, Ed, your being on. What's your thought?
Back home in Northern California, but looking at the list of the candidates we have here, it's amazing the things that all these sailors have done and their personal stories are just inspiring me. All of them inspire me. And it's very hard to vote for some of these because they have so many qualities that are amazing in our sport. And sitting here listening to the pitches, it just reinforces the fact that we have a very amazing cast of people who are in our sport, and the things that they do, and the intestinal fortitude and the determination, all of them have shown. Paul Kayard is one of my personal heroes for the America's Cup stuff, and I had the honor to meet him one time down at the Stars and Stripes compound when I was walking through, just sort of gawking through the gate, and Paul came up to me and talked to me, and I found that very inspiring to me. And so I sort of lean toward Paul, and the fact that he and I are actually the same age, and he went out and did the Star Worlds inspires me to get my boat out from under the tarp and get it out on the water. So that's how I'm thinking today. Thank you.
Ed Worley, thank you, sir.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you very much indeed. We've got one more here. And by the way, I'm going to just, if anybody wants to come onto the Zoom, I see Margarita Bottini Marshall saying, why aren't there? Well, there are women voting. You just don't necessarily see them in the Zoom. But if Margarita or you or anyone else wants to go on the Zoom, there's the Zoom meeting ID and the passcode. Come on. We're going to read your comments that are in the chat. But if anyone who wants to put your face to this and come on the Zoom, you're more than welcome. Anybody. We appreciate very much all of you checking in here with us. We've got one more to go, at least so far, who's in the Zoom, and that's our longtime friend Rick Bannera, who's in Connecticut. How's the snow in Connecticut? How's the snow in Connecticut, Rick?
We've not had a lot of snow the last 4 or 5 years. Well, this Sunday into Monday has made up for it.
What'd you get, 18 inches?
We were more like 12, 13 in Rowayton, but Fairfield, all over interior Connecticut, 20, 22. That's a lot of snow. I know that's a rounding error for Buffalo, but...
Well, growing up in Michigan, we had that maybe not every other week, but we'd get a dump or two every winter, at least when it was still cold. It's warmed up a bit. But I'm glad you're safe. I know, talking with Commodore Harrington, who's just to the west of you and south and west of you down in Greenwich, she had a good 17, 18 inches of snow there and got herself plowed out yesterday. And she's probably back down to 44th Street. The peripatetic person, how's that for some alliteration, Julia?
Perfect.
Peripatetic person that she is now that she's Commodore in New York. What's your take on all this, Rick?
Well, as the official seat warmer for the Friends of Sailing Illustrated, I've checked behind me and I've checked in front of me, and all I know is that the slate of candidates was superb. What many people didn't really see or hear much about were the other 5 or 6. And they could have easily been in the top 5 for lack of an advocate. So 2025 was an extraordinary year across the board. And I leave it to the other Super FOSIs who have been the advocates. They've said it brilliantly. I was just pleased to play a role in thinking about the spectrum and who to nominate, and did we think this was considered, was that considered? It was more the backroom chats and the text messaging that I found just fascinating. And I was chatting with Gordon earlier before the show today, and I share his concern that going forward, we have to find a way to create values for competitive sailor, for parasail, something that allows everybody to have which boxes are you ticking off? Just because you don't have a box doesn't mean you're not in consideration, but that we fairly weight each of the accomplishments and think about what's their impact on the sport, not just trophies on the trophy shelf. And I think to someone like a Hannah Stodel, and to me, she's the big bucket winner of the overall thing, and here she is, not even in the top 5.
Well, she was nominated.
She was nominated.
And discussed at length. Yeah, you did, indeed.
She's carrying the load for Dolly, for Jazz, for Charlie. It's having that chance to compete. And
excuse me, Rick. Tell us who Hannah Stodel is on the staff of World Sailing.
Hannah Stodel is the parasailing director and was instrumental in taking World Sailing and sticking World Sailing's nose on the grindstone, which is something they're loath to do. And she got them to focus on parasailing and the importance of parasailing, and why we as a sailing community are not complete without having parasailing as part of the community. It's our responsibility to lift them up and to give them access and support. If they want to sail as able-bodied sailors, fine. If they're physically so challenged that they can only compete in a disabled John Emmett, John, unmute yourself for a second. Question,
yes.
Question to you. You know jazz. Help me understand the wording, the catchphrases that are around the world of parasailing. Rather than have it pushed to the side, how do we include it?
So, I mean, I was just answering one of your questions because I actually originally nominated Hannah as well, because I do think it's a very difficult thing to do when somebody's an employee, but they're also going above and beyond. But in terms of contribution for parasailing, I feel that Jazz is a real hero, and she is on the para committee. So it was interesting. A number of the FOSI said after meeting Paul Kayard, they were so impressed that they really, they felt he was inspirational. Well, meet Jazz. And she is doing that work. She is the GBR representative on the para committee, and she is putting in that work. And in terms of the story, for me, I know Jazz fairly well. I mean, she'll probably be surprised at Castle Cove how often her ears should be burning, because it seems that very sadly, Weirwood Sailing Club, where I started after Crawley Manor, has closed. But it seems a lot of the members from Weirwood have moved down to Weymouth and at Castle Cove. So we actually chat about Jazz a lot, because when I first met her, she was an Ilka 4 sailor or a Laser 4.7 sailor. And at that point, she was basically able-bodied. And it's actually been the same. I coached a young topper chap also from the South Coast, Pevensey Bay, Eastbourne Way, who I literally used to take running in a squad. So I guess he would have been something like 13, 14 years old. And it's a degenerative disease. In fact, Jazz said to me, I'm surprised you remember me, because I think probably only did 1 or 2 weekends actually coaching her. And I said, you you left quite an impression. And this is somebody in my youth, I probably coached about 30 different people every weekend. But we have this hero worship. It's why the Olympics is so important for the sport, because it's like when there's a Robin Hood movie, everybody goes and joins their local archery club, even if it's only for a couple of weeks. But I do think that this award needs to be about the person, not about the achievement. And I need to be careful how I say this, because I mean, Ian Williams and Paul Kayard and Dylan Fletcher are absolutely amazing racing achievements, but they're part of a team. Would Paul Kayard have won without that person, without that particular crew in front of him? Whereas Jazz is doing it, alone. And I think sometimes, it's a bit like Blade Runner, but that makes the candle burn especially brightly. And I just feel that this is her year. And I get what Alistair's saying about heart overhead. But I think in a few years' time, if I look back 2025, I would say Jazz. That's a long answer.
Julia was whispering to me, Commodores, ladies and gentlemen, we are an hour and a half into this show. I'm happy to have the chat, because this is all, I think, good and interesting. As Joe Cool says, we might end up, though, if we're not careful, with a 4-hour show. Margarita Marshall is on. What about creating 3 categories next year? Well, that's something we discussed, Margarita, this year. And maybe we should get Margarita in here as a Super FOSI too, so that she's been on the show a lot. Yeah. She's been watching. She was also on the show with John, and maybe we get her to do some contributions from content in Italy. But we do have other women voting, and we will have, no doubt, any number of others. But unless there is thank you very much, Rick. Thank you, John, for that follow-up. Unless there's a burning comment from anybody else, I would like to ask Clark if he's made progress on the voting. I want to go back and read some comments here, because I think we also saw Jazz Turner on here. Mm-hmm. Didn't we see a comment, yes. Julie? That's what you were saying. There's a comment from Jazz Turner Sailing. Yes, up there just above, between Alistair and John, saying it's an honor to be nominated, and thank you all for the kind words and comments at a difficult time. So there's one other comment, Julia. Lance, I presume that's Lance Burke here, St. Francis member. He's saying, I vote for Julia. I always vote for Julia. She's had my vote for years. Claire Harrington is voting for Margarita Bottini Marshall. So in any event, there's a lot of other people on here. And Bobby Steele down in Newport Beach, our weather guru for the Gov Cup and longtime friend. Paul Caird is an officer and a gentleman. He is all of that and more. Julia, should we wrap this up? Is anybody else that came on? Ed, I don't see anybody else who's joined the Zoom. So I think everybody's had their say. And in that case, maybe Clark has said that he's got too many screens open, so he is not, unlike last year when he came on last year and made the announcement himself after conducting the vote. But he's saying that we do have a winner. And again, a first-round winner. Didn't have a first-round winner last year. We had to go, again, I think the voting procedure was to be, although it wasn't necessary this year. Last year, after the first round, the person with the fewest votes got dropped off until somebody got more than 50% of the votes, kind of the UN, if I can, United Nations, use that approach to voting. And lots of other great comments. We will go back and read all of your comments, but that is terrific stuff. Great work. Clark, I think, has passed the winner on to one of you, to Gordon on the panel. Gordon knows, so maybe we'll ask Gordon to make the announcement on behalf of our electioneer, Clark Chapin.
I feel like the man at the Oscars with the envelope. And the question is, have I got the right answer in the envelope? Okay, I'm reading.
You're going to fall right off the screen there if you're not careful.
I'm going to read the result because it's not results, and I'm not reading the other votes, but to say that they didn't win. The 2025, and I think it's absolutely the right result. There was a fight over who would nominate and support this person. So the correct result, the most wonderful result, the result that the chat amongst the Super FOSI picked out is Jazz Turner.
Our 2025 Person of the Year, second time we've done this, was pitched by John Emmett, not by Gordon Smith, but I think was a very popular choice and a first ballot choice at that. I should have some kind of music here, Julia, or something, I guess. There's thumbs up, there's applause. Gordon, go ahead.
I'd like to point out for Jazz that she has just kicked butt again because the people who were closest to her, but not anywhere nearly close enough, was Paul Caird and Ian Williams. Think about that, Jazz.
Chris Exley, yay, Jazz, congratulations. Blake Middleton up in Minnesota, where it's been cold, and they've got other problems up there we won't go into now. Steve Atkins is Commodore Atkins, also in Connecticut. He's happy. And there is Jazz herself. Thank you so much. Incredibly kind. Well, Jazz, what that means is we've got to get you back on the show. Last year, Commodore Harrington managed to get Cole Brower on live from the middle of the Southern Indian Ocean. So wherever you are, Jazz, we'd love to have you back on the show in due course when everything works. John Emmett, great decision. Bill Haynes, William D. Haynes, great slate of candidates. All are amazing representatives of our sport. Philip Laffin, fantastic. Thank you, Jazz. Thank you, John, for pitching, nominating. A lot of people nominated Jazz Turner. Clay Embley, well done, and on and on and on. So I think we've got a popular choice here. And I like the process, Julia. We've talked about having multiple categories. I've resisted that, frankly, because like Time Magazine has their Person of the Year, good, bad, or otherwise. I really like to focus it on one person, male or female or able-bodied or not able, whatever. Let's just get one person who we think has been a brilliant ambassador for our sport on and off the water, and certainly Jazz Turner has been that and more. Andy Cox in Bermuda agrees. Congratulations, Jazz worthy winner, Alistair Murray. Keep it simple. KISS, K-I-S-S. Keep it simple, sailor, as Paul Henderson used to say. A great format. And we have a great group of people on and off line who've been helping. If I had a nickel for every morning, Julia, I've woken up here and looked on the Super FOSI chat on WhatsApp, and oh my God, there's another 30 messages here I have to read before I can even have my coffee, so I know what's going on here. Alan Long, when we are talking of sailing, when we're talking of contributions to sailing, the sailors bringing people into the sport, ambassadorship. I thought last year Cole was the winner due to the hype of her bringing outsiders, yes, indeed, into understanding our sport. And I think Jazz has done the same, Alan Long. I think that's been part of the strength of her candidacy, if you will. And she has inspired, not only brought into the sport, but inspired lots of others. Good point, Alan Long. Thank you. There's Mr. Doctor, Andrew McIrvin, another Super FOSI, just joined a bit late, but pleased to see the result, as I think a lot of us are, Julia. Final thought to you, Julia?
No, it's an interesting process, and maybe it's the whole election should be the basis of showing the width and breadth and depth of the kinds of person that sail.
Well, we've done that. We have the criteria that Alistair drew up for us, and we modified a little bit, and everybody has, I think, contributed to this.
Oh, it's not that it isn't there. I just say the message to tell the world is
indeed
this is a fabulous group of people.
Well, I might even do a press release. I don't do press releases. We don't do much promotion of this show. People find out about us and come watch, and that's that. But maybe we'll do one after this. Alistair Murray is asking whether it's J-A-Z or J-A-Z-Z. And I think John Emmett, somebody straightened me out because I wasn't sure either. It's Jazz, J-A-Z-Z. But on her Facebook page, apparently there was another Jazz Turner. So she, on Facebook, is J-A-Z, I think, just for the purpose of straightening out her Facebook page.
I want to know how she got the name.
Well, that's a good question. If she's on the chat still, maybe we can ask her because, and of course, I'm partial to jazz, having played jazz on and off all my life. Whether it's Dixieland jazz on the banjo or more serious jazz on the bass guitar or guitar even. But Jazz Turner has won over a distinguished panel.
Oh, yes.
A great group here, including Kayard, Deland, Fletcher, and Ian Williams, and I think it's a popular decision after Cole Brower last year. J-A-Z-Z, there's Jazz saying that. She's in the chat and confirming what I said a moment ago, and maybe she can put a comment in there about how she got that name. When I first met her, she was Jasmine. Why do the girls I meet change their names? John Evans said. Keep out for all our friend requests, Jazz, as Steve Atkins, Commodore Atkins is saying. Okay, let's carry on here. Congratulations to Jazz. Congratulations to all of you who are involved in this. Thank you to all of you who are involved in this. And Julia, do you think we should do this again next year?
I think we have to.
If we do another category, one of the things that Julia and I and Alistair Murray and a couple, Andrew McIrvin and a couple others have talked about, Andrew Pindar, is maybe recognizing an organization of the year, somebody, some group, some club, class, yacht racing association, some organization who has done something super cool. But it is so difficult to sort through.
Oh, it is.
All of that, but we sort through this. Look at this group.
I know.
And we sorted this group, so maybe we can sort through something like that. In any event, we're open to any and all suggestions, constructive thoughts, and we appreciate all of you again very much. including especially you, Julia. And I ask you, what happened on this day in history, the 27th of January, 1820?
I was going to say that's the day after Australia Day.
Do you know that John Emmett's name is Jonathan? I had no idea. That's news to me.
Me too.
Okay, what happened on this day in history, Julia? Here's a clue. Do you have any? We may have covered this once before. I like it because it's sailing related. Do you know who that is?
Commodore somebody.
He does. I hope he doesn't look like a modern day Commodore. He doesn't bear any resemblance to, well, he does bear a little resemblance to Claire Harrington. Look at the eyes. It almost looks like he got makeup on his eyes. Not that Claire wears much makeup, but Fabian Gottlieb von Bellingshausen.
Yes.
Who was of German descent, obviously, with a name like that, and was a Russian. Yarvahe says, ugly. He lived from 1779 and died a year after AC0. And Blake Sale, he goes on the website, and he usually, that is Blake Middleton, predicts who I'm going to choose even before I choose it, because it does involve sailing. And in 1819, this guy set sail, Bellingshausen's expedition, commissioned by Russia. He set sail on his two sloops of war, the Mirny and the Vostok. And I had no idea, except I do think we covered this once before, or I maybe was going to cover it, and I never put it in the show. But the Russian Antarctic expedition, I got to say his name one more time. It's just fun. Fabian Gottlieb von Bellingshausen.
There we go.
And Mikhail Lazarev discover the continent of Antarctica 30 years before the first America's Cup. That's hard to believe. They just discovered Antarctica. You mean to tell me no one else had discovered Antarctica?
That could be.
So says, and I checked it on,
Well, I mean, you could say there's a lot of snow down there, but what else? Too cold to go down
Well,
there.
that's true. Ted Ryman's real name is Edward. Well, we're finding out all the real names now, Julia. What's your real name?
Mine?
Yeah.
You got it.
Julia. This day in history, Julia, the 27th of January, 1820. Yeah, Yarvahe singing that maybe James Cook had known something about Antarctica before 1820. Maybe some others did. I'm not sure the Vikings got down there, but who knows? Well, that's our show, 1904, number 904 rather, except for the last leg. We got a great last leg today, too, if I do say so myself.
Okay.
And this is a regatta we have celebrated before on this show. It happens every year in January. You talk about the Perpetual Summer Program. This is Langkawi, the Royal Langkawi Yacht Club and the Royal Langkawi International Regatta. It's been going on for 22 years. And most of you will know that Langkawi is that resort island off the west coast of Malaysia. The 22nd such regatta concluded on the 24th on Saturday after a week of ideal wind. I mean, it's a beautiful place. How do I know that? I've never been. But Brian Willis, the famed judge, umpire, rules maven, member of the Racing Rules Committee for years, and a dear friend, lived there half the year in Langkawi. It was inexpensive, warm, beautiful place to live. Rather, he's a Brit, but get out of the UK winter. So
what country is that?
Malaysia.
Oh, Malaysia.
Off the west coast of Malaysia. What began as a week of shifting fortunes ended with razor-thin margins as teams battled exhaustion, equipment failures, and a final day of tactical duels that decided the prestigious Prime Minister's Challenge Trophy. You talk about burying the lead. I mean, that's champagne sailing conditions in the opening paragraph when what they should have done was talk about who won. But we'll get there sooner or later. But that is the Langkawi Yacht Club. I've, again, not been, the Royal Langkawi. Beautiful spot. And for those of you who are geographically challenged, there's the island on the, over there on the west side, just off the west coast of Malaysia. Singapore, of course, all the way down at the end of the Malay Peninsula. And this right here, over here to the south and west, is Indonesia. That's Sumatra, actually, which is part of Indonesia. So that is the Royal Langkawi Yacht Club, and here are the winners. You would have thought maybe got some ink at the top in a stunning final day upset. The Next Factor, I like the name of that boat, clawed back a deficit to claim the overall victory by a single point.
Wow.
While the Reichel Pugh 66, I mean, they have good boats. They have big boats. They have racing.
Yeah.
Reichel Pugh 66 Alive showed blistering speed, taking line honors and crushing the Round the Island record earlier in the week. Their handicap lead evaporated in the technical windward leeward courses of the final day. Rolf Heemskerk's crew on the Next Factor sailed a consistent and tactically superior series to snatch the Prime Minister's Challenge Trophy from the Australian favorite. And Julia, as I like to say,
oh yes,
you would be disappointed.
I would.
If I didn't have a cool video to wrap up the show.
Mm-hmm.
We started off the week reasonably well, but not winning. We led for 2 days, then we had to give the lead to Alive, a very competitive and well-sailed boat. Credit to them. Today we went in the day with 2 points behind, so that means that we had to beat them twice.
In my opinion, this is the best regatta in the region. I always told my friends, you must be in Langkawi.
It's a beautiful weather, beautiful country, beautiful scenery. Race committee did a great job. Races set very well. Race committee worked very well. We enjoyed it a lot.
It's my first time coming to Langkawi. I loved it. Everyone said, not too much wind at Langkawi. Nah, it was full on. It was full on. We had 28 knots. We were flying hulls everywhere. It was amazing.
I for sure will be joining next year. I will be there.
See you next year.
See you next year, 2027.
Does look like the wind is good there.
I've not, as they say, I've not been, but by all accounts, Brian Willis, our friend, said that it was a fabulous place to live. Fabulous. He did a lot of judging there.
Yeah.
There was quite a bit of racing. Ilka's Optimus and so on. That's called, somebody asked, was it Steve Atkins? Somebody asked, what's the body of water they're racing in? That is, in fact, the Andaman, A-N-D-A-M-A-N-C, the Andaman Sea. That's about it for show 904 to the D Block, Julia, your favorite segment. And we got the gentleman who's back in action, at least here in the States, on the beer commercials.
Yes.
So it's nice to see. Okay, the first one. I had to use it. I laughed. I laughed out loud when I saw it. Who do you think? The more interesting question is, who do you think submitted that? Mm-hmm. I don't care why you cross the road. Good. The chicken replies to the bear. Good. I don't care if you shat in the woods. You don't think that's funny?
Oh, not especially.
Huh?
Not especially.
You don't like that one. Okay, well, you give Ted Ryman a shake of the finger then.
Oh, he always has good ones, though. That's not my favorite of his.
Okay. If alcohol damages your short-term memory, says the drinking show with a sailing habit, imagine what alcohol can do. Huh? That came from Commodore Pete Gilmore, Staff Commodore here at the St. Francis Yacht Club. He sent that to me this morning. I bet you'd like that. And in the same vein, Julia, I finally stopped drinking for good. Now, now I drink
For evil.
Those of us who don't drink, I thought that was appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, this one, it's better to be the oldest on the sailboat than the youngest at the nursing home. And that is from Dolly DeVola. There he is in the upper left corner of the chat.
Yes.
Dolly, thank you for sending that one.
Yes, indeed, and you're right.
And he is dead right. Julie, you said you were never going to the nursing home, full stop.
No, I'm not.
You're going out of the Beach Street Yacht Club, out of your Commodore suite up there, feet first.
Yep.
Just like your husband did.
Yep.
And for those of you who don't think Julia plans ahead, because she does, she and her husband, 15 years ago, spent a lot of money, $100,000, to put an elevator in. This is a typical marina townhouse, garage at the bottom level, my apartment here, Julia's apartment on the top floor, and an elevator so that you and your late husband could get in and out of here without
Forever.
having to go down the stairs forever.
Right.
It was the smartest thing you ever did.
Well,
Dumbest thing you ever did was let me have this apartment.
That's another question.
That's another question. Alan Long, enjoyable show. Thanks all. We have a full-blown East Coast nor'easter. Yeah, I hear that's coming. You got another storm coming, but it's that time of year. Alistair Murray saying, Tom, that was a truly exceptional process and a great outcome. Well done on creating and managing the Sapati, the Sapoti Award.
Sapoti, yeah. Sapoti works.
Maybe
yeah.
that's better. You have really contributed something special to the sailing community. Well, Clark and Julia and all of you involved, thank you to those of you who are still on the Zoom.
Yes.
The Zoom works well, especially for a group that's so well behaved.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Thank you, guys and gals. And thank
we
you.
can see you. That's nice.
Say again?
And we can see them.
We can see them. I know it's nice. We keep talking about having a Zoom open for all the shows, but Dolly gave that a thumbs up. You have to get cleaned up if you're going to come on here, right? Look at how cleaned up everybody is. Look at how clean shaven John is. He's looking. Pedro Foiling Sailor, I had to pull into the dock by boat to get to your clubhouse. The lift wasn't working. Jody Shields, thank you for your pitching contribution today. Great show. Sorry I had to go to work. Well, it is a work day down under. It's your Wednesday, and what time is it now in Sydney? Almost 10 o'clock on the East Coast. Julie, we always wrap up with Blake Middleton's submission. All the smartest people. My dad likes to say sailing isn't for everybody, but it is for anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Alley Cat Productions saying goodbye and thanks to everybody. And I'll say goodbye and thanks to everybody, but not before Julia reminds us at the finish line.
Don't forget to like and follow and share. Makes a huge difference.
It does indeed. And we also remind you that comments are welcome, even in replay, because we do leave them open because everybody is so respectful. No name calling, no personal attacks. And thanks also to those of you who give us a few bucks a month via Patreon or otherwise. Some people just send us a check. Some people send us booze like Clayton Embley. Clayton Embley.
Yeah, and easier. Some do it once a year because it's easier.
Well, anyway, we appreciate every little bit because that helps keep us equipped.
Yes.
In our little control room here and over at Julia's desk with her equipment. We've upgraded one of her monitors here, and it helps us to pay our streaming fees. You know, my cable bill, my Comcast bill, I just got it for, it's the new year. It's just, and I have a fancy internet service, but I don't have fancy TV channels.
Mm-hmm.
It's now $350.
Yeah, I just got charged.
It's unbelievable.
$350 for your Comcast.
No, it's not my Comcast. You got your own Comcast.
I know,
keep saying you should. I installed it so you'd have a good internet connection up there. That's why, and it is. It's bloody expensive. John Emmett wants the final word. You are more than welcome, John. Please, and anybody else in the chat, you're more than welcome.
So, just the really important answer to your question. Going back to the crapper with your metal toilet seats and your wooden toilet seats. If everything is in a room for a long time, it all goes the same temperature, becomes the same temperature as you have equilibrium. But it's about conductivity. So metal is a really good conductor and it conducts your body heat away from you, which is why it feels cold,
Wood is a good insulator, and that means it feels warm because it's not conducting all the heat away from your body. But I would recommend wooden toilet seats.
John, did you ever, in Michigan, we used to play the game of talking some kid into sticking their tongue onto the pipe in the middle of the winter. Did you ever do that?
Everybody's done that once.
Yeah, when I went out to count the sheep in the snow, which white. God, I don't think I can say this without swearing. White sheep in white snow. It's quite a hard game counting sheep. I did get stuck to a post, which wasn't a lot of fun. But I was clever enough not to experiment pissing on an electric fence.
Oh,
Okay.
I've never thought about that.
Oh, my goodness. Okay. Pedro Foiling Sailor. Okay, this is getting, not everybody has done that. Clark Chapin is saying, okay, thanks, guys. We'll see you all soon, whether online or otherwise. Thanks to everybody who does support us, because we need all the help we can get. That it only pays for our streaming fees and equipment costs.
Yep.
Thank you to everybody who gives us audio, video, and images for the show, including this list again today from all over the world. Julia, final thought?
It was a grand day.
And we're at 3 o'clock, so we're at 2 hours and 1 minute. To get all that done in 2 hours is, I think, pretty good.
Yep.
What's that? What does that mean?
Oh, you're still cold.
Oh, he's still cold. Okay, everybody, thank you very much indeed. We hope to see you on Friday, the same time, same channels, all three of them. I think we're working today. In the meantime, please do go sailing or ice boating or something. And if you do, sail fast, sail safe.
And have fun.
And have fun. Ciao for now.